Says, okay, good. I'm not seeing anybody coming. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay. I'm still dreaming. I don't. Hi, Tosh. How are you? Or the technology working against us. I was ready at 6 in the eye, but we got a problem and we got thrown out. So I'm happy to see that my friends have maintained their patience. Big up, comment Karen C. Cross. Thanks for joining. Yeah, man, we were ready at 6 sharp, Nicola, we were ready at 6 sharp, and comment Fitz Jackson was on. But look like somebody never want the thing to work. Hi, Tiffany, my cousin. Good evening to you. Thanks for joining. I know a lot of people were wondering because they know that I'm not late. Michelle Stern, welcome. Thanks. Yes, please share, please. Please share. Please share the live. Thanks very much. Yeah, man, I was waiting. I was actually ready. Fitz was on, and we were ready at 6 in the eye. And when we click over, I was told that the technology was waiting for more than 10 minutes. And so it did not work. Hey, comment Nigel Pagan. Good to have you. Comments, please share the live. Share as widely as you can. Share the live as widely as you can. It's an important discussion segment and program. I was listening to one of my favorite music. Let me see now. Somebody is texting to say there's a reasoning taking place on Sunday. All right, let's see now. Yes, Socrates, we're there. Respect. Thanks for being there. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, man, I was telling everybody, Socrates, that at 6 o'clock we are ready to go. We press the button and StreamYard say, boy, you were waiting too long. You see, we got everything set up in time enough. In fact, 5:45, we set up and we're ready. Me and Fitz having a conversation and we're ready to go. But when we press the button at 6, StreamYard said, boy, we were waiting for more than 10 minutes. So you have to restart. So that's what we're doing. Good evening, Comrade Courtney Curry. Respect. Thanks for joining. Comrade Marcia Hutchinson from South Florida. I hear even down there is cold. In fact, in Jamaica now, pretty cold. I have been pulling the covers every night this week. All right, so I see Comrade Fitz joining me back now. And put him in the studio. And we are good to go. Comrade Fitz Jackson.
Good evening, my brother, friend, and comrade for life.
For life. That's how we do it now. Real comrades are for life. We join this movement with a common philosophy and belief, and we're going to die, leave it in this way, intact. And we are Jackson, I was telling them that at 6 o'clock on the eye, we were ready to go.
Indeed.
And as I pressed the button, StreamYard said, boy, we were waiting too long to go. So they kick us off. But we are building up now. We now have so far 11 persons. Melverton Newell. Oh, he's saying good evening from Cole, New York. Are you able to read it, Fitz?
No.
You're following? Well, I might have to take you through, but already we've gotten a number of comrades who have said hello. Oh, Socrates Jr.
Oh yes, I'm seeing it now.
You
Yes.
see what Socrates Jr. said a while ago? him always get trouble, you know. But
And
I,
the funny thing, I can't disown him because he's my constituent.
is your, you mean Socrates vote for you?
He's a registered voter in my constituency.
What? What you say?
He
All
lives
right.
in my constituency.
I think we should say that this is a forum of the past chairman of our great party.
Or to be more correct, the immediate past chairman.
Yes, Mary Holland saying welcome. Warren Robinson, Lakeland, Florida. Then Nicola Holness. I have supported Comrade Jackson stance from day one. Had some serious issues too. Let MP know that they represent the people and not themselves. Very good, very good.
Indeed.
And Nick Caruthers. Yes, my MP. Jeannie Green, good evening. Of course, Karen Seacross, trouble in the house. And Rachel saying, welcome to the Connection Corner. Socrates Jr. saying, chairman for eternity. It's your constituent, it's not mine. So
I take responsibility for him. Is that what you said, my brother?
yeah. Muna
Well,
Issa.
as I say, I won't disown him in thick or thin.
Muna Issa is in the Bahamas, you know.
Ah,
Saying
Muna.
hi, Fitz and Philip.
Yes.
Muna is a great socialist among us. Yeah, man.
Yes.
Good, can done. Muna see the Prime Minister dancing away in the Bahamas. You weren't there. I saw the opening of the new, oops, I better not call the name, is your competitor. But I see the Prime Minister dancing up a storm. But don't begrudge him. All right, so come Fitz. We do these lives every week. And it's an opportunity, especially in these times when, comrades not clear on issues. And it's not only comrades because some laborites join us from time to time. Mona saying that they didn't invite me. Oh, Lord, that's not cool. Right, Nick Caruta said I always work for Mr. Jackson anytime elections come around.
Correct.
All right, so we do these lives to share views, to get people's perspectives, and we want to welcome you. This is your debut.
Yes.
Connection Boss Live.
Yes.
And Fitz, I have a lot of respect for you. Right? We go back a far way. Sometimes we're on different sides, but there's one thing that is always consistent. We respect each other as comrades. So I want to welcome my comrade brother and former chairman of the Great People's National Party, the Member of Parliament for South St. Catherine, Comrade Fitz Jackson. Welcome.
Thank you, my comrade brother, fellow past chairman. Thanks for the invitation to join you this evening. And let me extend my own commendation to you for this initiative, which, as you have explained to me prior to now, it provides a forum for leaders of the party like ourselves, leaders in our own rights within the party, to interact not just with comrades but the public at large on matters relating to our party and matters relating to the country, for which our party was formed, was born to do. The party PNP is not about the individuals like ourselves. It was established as a vehicle for the advancement of our people and the development of our country. And all of us who occupy leadership roles from time to time have a duty and an obligation to contribute towards fulfilling that mission of the People's National Party. So to the extent that I can join you this evening towards that end, it brings me great pleasure. So let me also say a big shout out to all your viewers and listeners, some of whom you have acknowledged in the course of your preamble, some you haven't. Glancing through the screen, I see some former members of my constituency and good
Yes.
friends who are joining us. So once again, good evening, everybody, and it's a pleasure to join you. And look forward to a fruitful discussion and exchange.
Yes. You'll be amazed by 10 o'clock tonight, you'll have almost 2,000 viewers.
Wow.
It's at this time is when people head home from work, and so many people won't see it live. But this live is going to be up forever. So 10 years from now, people will be able to go back into the
Indeed.
page to see this interview. And it's good for record keeping. It's good for historical
Indeed.
documentation. So Fitz, before Donna Scott Motley, boy,
Wow, Donna is on too. I feel privileged.
Fitz, you're there?
I am here. I'm here.
Can I tell you something? I think somebody will try mess with us today, You're too powerful, because I don't have no Wi-Fi issues of late. I've made sure to upgrade my bandwidth significantly. So for the last few months, no problem. But I think somebody don't want to hear the great Fitz Jackson.
My. But if it's my dear brother in the US,
Yes,
congressman who died,
yes.
who coined the phrase "good trouble."
Good trouble, good trouble.
Good trouble. My life is one of making good trouble. Good trouble are those kinds of disturbances that advance the cause of the people.
Yes, but I realize of late that people can try to, and sometimes do, jam your system, and create disturbances. So you see Comrade Curry saying, I agree, they want to silence you. I was saying, welcome to Senator Donna Scott Motley. And she knows why I'm welcoming her, because this program has featured her and also one of her big relatives in the in Barbados, and we want to send out a special congratulations to the family and to say how pleased and proud we are that our sister, Comrade Mayor Motley,
Yes,
has been returned so handsomely.
Well, you know that she has now been coined as if I may, Philip, she has now been coined as the Prime Minister of the Caribbean.
Of course. There's
and
none
rightfully
other.
so.
Yes, there's no other that can match her. All right. So Fitz, before I had tune on to the program, I got some questions unrelated to what we are here to talk about, which is the banking sector. So before you go into that, people wanted to know about this thing about Portmore becoming a parish. And some persons had caught some of the discussions in Parliament. But if you could just deal with that quickly for us, why you are opposed to the way the government is going on the Portmore issue.
Yes. Essentially, it's important to appreciate how the Portmore of local authority has evolved over the years.
Yes.
Many residents in Portmore felt that the St. Catherine Parish Council was not attending to its developmental issues and service issues in an effective way, and believe that they as a community, being of the size and the common features across the community, there should be a local authority that is dedicated to the business of Portmore. That is probably in a nutshell what gave rise to it. It was a long journey from in the early to mid 1990s. It started. Extensive discussions took place at the community levels, throughout each community and in a combined way, led by the Joint Portmore Citizens Association. At the time, the president was George Lee. And I underscore the point that the Portmore municipality was not an initiative of the then governing party, the People's National Party. It was a people's initiative that the political leadership, like Dr. Paul Robertson and myself, who were the MPs for the greater part of Portmore at the time, we facilitated the dialogue and provided a conduit between the communities and central government. So we were somewhat of a link between the communities and the ministry and the central government as that process developed and evolved. What Portmore residents were all about is an effective, purpose-driven authority to deal with the administrative, the service delivery issues affecting their communities. That's what it set out to do. And for that reason, we were never caught up on how it was described, but rather what it could do.
Right.
It was purpose-driven. We never saw ourselves as not being a part of St. Catherine. We sought to establish a management system, as I said, that can deal with the issues concerning Portmore.
Right.
That's how the Portmore municipality came about. We never put any PNP tag to it or any personalized tag. Comrade Robertson or myself or Comrade Pattison, the then Prime Minister. We developed a Portmore municipality which belonged to the people. What has happened? As you know, the Portmore area has been very faithful to the People's National Party over the many years. 2 members of parliament when it was 2 constituencies, and even when a part of it was in South Central at the time. The third was a PNP MP, and we basically control all the municipalities. Of the 12, all the council divisions, sorry. Of the 12 current divisions in Portmore, 10 is controlled by the PNP and 2 by the Jamaica Labour Party. That is a source of displeasure by the Jamaica Labour Party. And so in 2007, going up to the 2007 election, Bruce Golding at the time, in an attempt to appear to be for the people of Portmore, made them an offer. And all he offered was to move them from being a municipality to being a parish. What is the functional distinction? Nobody knows up to this minute. He won in 2007. Nothing happened between 2002 and 2011. When the current Prime Minister was a candidate again in 2016, he ran, they won, and they did nothing. And they ran again in 2017, and they now decide that they're going to put a tag, a designation, a empty designation with no functionality at all in being a parish. The people of Portmore say, look, we're not all about this foolishness. We started out to be purposeful, and we're going to continue on a purposeful journey. And so we are not want to get entwined with this. But they are not saying that at some point a designation cannot and ought not to apply. But where Portmore is now, there are more substantive issues that need to be addressed. Nothing that the government has mentioned will occur from being a parish is prohibited from not being a parish.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it as an insult to the intelligence of the people of Portmore. It's a distraction. We believe that the resources, etc., that would be utilized should go towards making Portmore a more livable place and to advance it as a more developed local authority.
Very good, very good. And just to say to those who are watching, I am part of Fitz's team in Portmore as we go to defend stoutly and strenuously the municipality in terms of the mayoralship and of course the divisions that we now have but to add to them. Right, Fitz?
Indeed. And I am privileged to have you working with me in that neck of Jamaica.
Well, working for you. and the
With
people.
me, with me, with me, with me, with me.
Fitz, let us get into the meat of the matter because I tell you, I have been very concerned about our banking system. And you have waged almost single handedly this battle. Can you just start by where did you start? When did you start this?
Okay, interesting question. It started in 2013 when it was brought to my attention, as any other member of parliament, how the banks were charging an array of fees to customers and really diminishing their bank balances. And upon being aware, I did further investigations, and it was alarming to say the least. That inquiry and what I was able to unearth at the time caused me to have tabled a private member's motion in November 2013. And the motion specifically, it raised the issues. One, two, it specifically required the Bank of Jamaica to make a study of fees being charged by the banks in Jamaica and in the region and some select international jurisdiction to inform the status of the fee charging by banks in Jamaica. And for the committee to which it was referred, the Economy and Production Committee, which I was also a member of, to examine that and to take contributions from the public at large and all the relevant sectors in the banking industry. That exercise had a rocky start because to begin with, the committee was hardly meeting. None of the GLP members of the opposition side at the time wanted to be bothered with the committee chairmanship and the work of the committee. I had to lean on the speaker, lean on the dead house leader to get a chairman in place. In fact, Warmington was once named as the chairman and he protested and withdrew. Gregory Meir was once the chairman and he gave up and nothing happened. And finally, Carl Samuda was given the task to chair the committee. So almost a year passed with nothing being done because of the intransigence of the then opposition to deal with the Committee of Parliament. When we finally got the committee going, the work was done and a report was tabled, initially an interim report, and shortly thereafter the final report. And it was presented to the Parliament, and the Parliament overwhelmingly, without any exception, approved the recommendations and asked for it to be acted upon. That was in the latter part of 2007 and 15. In around November, December, the election campaign started, and we had the general elections in February 2016. So there was a no active period when the campaign started and the election and the government changed. When the government changed, I went to the new Minister of Finance to inquire on actions and the recommendations coming from the committee. For months and months, I beseeched Audley Shaw, then Minister, nothing happened. Out of frustration from the inactivity or inaction of the minister and the government, I decided to take those recommendations that were arrived at on a bipartisan basis, having got the benefit of widespread consultation from the entire banking sector and the public at large, to codify those things in a bill that I tabled. That is the genesis of that bill that is before the Parliament. I struggled after it was tabled to get it debated on the agenda of the House. It occurred in February 2018, debated, and the government decided to take a partisan line decided to abandon the very recommendations that their members and all others in Parliament approved of and defeated the bill, where all then government members, all 30 present, voted to defeat the bill, while the opposition 29 members present voted for the bill. That is the background of it. And I want to make one last point in that regard.
Yeah.
I tabled it while I was on the government bench, not the opposition bench. I tabled it while I was on the government side when my party was in power.
Yes. Yes, I remember that. I was the leader of the parliament.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes. So you have been consistent, regardless of who who comprised the cabinet. Now, recently, we're hearing, and I'm coming back to some of the specifics, but we hear the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Justice seemingly supporting your position. What do you make of that?
Well, you know, I welcome any support to a worthy cause. It's unfortunate that they have not acted when they had, from earlier when they had the opportunity to act. It's a bit late in the day, but it's not too late. What I'm concerned though about, Philip, is that they are not involved in some sort of game playing.
Yes.
Because what saddened me when I listened to the clips from the Prime Minister and the Minister of Finance, I shook my head. Because someone listening to them on the matter would think that they were just discovering that these problems existed. And that's where the apparent hypocrisy exists.
Right.
A more sincere and honest response coming from either gentleman should be more in line to say, while we were aware of the problem for some time now, it is regrettable that it has degenerated to the extent that it is, and therefore the matter ought to be addressed. That would be a more respectable or respectful response with a greater tinge of sincerity, even if it was not meant. But to blatantly look to the public, look in the public's eye, and respond in the way that they did, as if they are just discovering, it was quite disappointing. But as I said elsewhere, though disappointing, it was not surprising.
I see one of your constituents, Tiara Murray, is bigging you up. So I want to make you know
she's
her.
more than a
By the way?
constituent of mine.
You know her.
I know her very well. She actually grew up in my hands.
All right, very good.
Her mother, grandmother, who she grew up with, was a part of my executive.
Okay, welcome, Tiara. So
By the way, let me just trouble Tiara a little bit.
yes.
She used to sit outside and wait until the meetings were finished. As a little child, not big enough to join the meetings. But now she has grown up, now she's found her place in the meetings.
Yeah, so when it comments like that. But Fitz, if we could just look at some of the specifics now, because earlier on, questions were raised about pensioners, people who, I see Taisha Dean's talking about her 2 cents. So take us through some of the provisions and why they are so relevant.
Banking fees under that generalized rubric may appear abstract. What it is in functional terms is that persons who hold accounts, and as you know, people put monies in banks for use at some later period, right? That's what banks were designed for.
Right.
You put your money in an account, and the bank, through a license, gets the privilege to work that money, as Prime Minister Mayor Motley said, to work the money, make a profit, and the profit belongs to them. But you have your money where you can use from time to time. What has happened is that the banks have now decided to penalize you for attempting to use, and even when you don't use your monies that are put there for safekeeping. So the non-use or delayed use, they charge you a dormancy fee. And when you use it, they charge you a withdrawal fee. And when you wish to continue using it, they charge you a deposit fee. And when you want to ask about what is happening on your account that they have for you, they charge you a fee for inquiring. In other words, shut your mouth. Don't ask anything. Don't seek to know anything. And if you do seek to know, we're going to charge you a fee. So if you want a statement to see what transactions are occurring against your account, they charge you a fee. If you go to the bank with a check drawn to you or your company, they charge you an encashment fee. When the Bill of Exchange Act authorized promissory notes, which is in the form of a check,
Yes.
you pay at face value. They charge you a fee. That is a matter now I'm taking before the courts. Because like the dormancy fee, I discovered after tabling the bill that it was a violation of the existing law. And having indicated that I will be suing them for breaking the existing law, within 2 weeks, all of them suspended the dormancy fee. That's how the dormancy fee came to an end. Not on
Really?
the abolition.
Yes. Amazing. I wasn't following those movements, but you are saying that once you threaten legal action, they pull.
Yes. Within 2 weeks, all of them suspended. They never terminated. I looked at the language that all of them use. They are suspending the dormancy fee, which left a window open that they could come back at any time and reimpose it.
Right.
But what is most egregious and uncomfortable is that these dormancy fees, in the amounts of billions of dollars over the period, that they have illegally taken from people's accounts, the government of the day has taken no step to have those illegally deducted fees returned to the depositors. That's what the lawsuit that I'm seeking to do would seek to remedy. Because the government is failing to protect the depositors' money. So we are now relying on the courts, as we have had to do in recent times, to preserve and to protect the rights and the interests of the ordinary people. It is unfortunate that an elected government would have abandoned the interests of the ordinary persons in protection of the interests of the persons who own the bank and make billions of dollars every year. Over $50 billion every year is extracted from depositors' accounts. That is the extent of the wrong that is being committed on a daily basis. Not on a one-off basis, on a daily basis. As we speak here this evening, by tomorrow, the banks would have made millions in fees between now and tomorrow. Not thousands, not hundreds, millions of dollars. And by the end of the year, they will make over $50+ billion. That $50 billion are monies extracted from the accounts of pensioners, minimum wage earners, small business operators, medium-sized business operators, micro business operators who use the banking services for one purpose or the other. Those are the real victims of that $50 billion robbery that the government has become complicit with over the years.
But that's wickedness. That's wickedness, Fitz.
And, I guess you can understand why I feel the way I feel about it, because this is not something wrong that is being done without the knowledge of the bank, of the government. It has been brought to their attention for years now, and they have refused to act. But when the owners of the banks are, as they say, in bed with the government, they're in businesses together, they're part of the administration as advisors, can't be surprised.
You know what, Fitz, in preparation for our discussion today, I just went and looked online on my statements, because the truth is, as a consumer, sometimes we don't pay attention to some of the details. So today I just went through And because you can get it online now, I don't know if they're probably going to charge me for it. But when I look through to see my bank charges, and you know I'm not a rich man, I just do some, every month I do some basic transactions, take care of my pitney and them things there. When I look to see what they charge me, it is amazing. And they are able to use my money, my savings, to do other things. So you're absolutely correct. What is happening here is rape on the public. And I'm so happy to see the level of passion that you bring to it. It reminds me those days when people used to say that, boy, I was youthful and exuberant when I went after Cape Town Wireless, because that was also bad. But this is probably even worse in what we're seeing. I know you want to say something more.
Well, you mentioned about the hurt that is felt. As I said to someone today, Philip, what brings me really a bit of pain is that from the very beginning, I deliberately sought to make this a non-partisan issue, because I know the politics can become so tribalized
Right.
that the innocent, ordinary Jamaicans get squeezed in the middle. And it's for that reason why I tabled a motion and referred it to one of the standing committees of Parliament, the Economy and Production Committee, that is chaired by the opposition.
Right.
And both sides would have the opportunity to participate. Because at the committee level, it is less partisan. Until recently, we see some tendencies which are creeping in. But generally speaking, the committees lend itself to less partisanship and to focus on what is in the national interest.
Right.
That was deliberate. And I sought to make sure that the public at large had some space in the deliberations to influence, to shape the outcomes in the form of the recommendations.
Right.
Both the observations in the inquiry and the recommendations coming out of the deliberations. It was deliberate. And we walked hand in hand together. And that report, as I said before, was signed by all the members across the aisle.
True.
And the pain that I feel, Philip, is that we worked with what I thought was sincerity on Jamaica's behalf. They signed the report, and when the opportunity comes for them to have those recommendations acted on in protection of the public, they abandon that cause. They abandon the duty of protecting the consumers, the depositors, made up of struggling individuals in all of us constituencies. We have rich people in our constituency, medium income, poor, unemployed, everybody that we have a responsibility for. They abandon all those. And Philip, I have the moments when I reflect. And I say, this cause and this journey that we have entered on as representatives, you ask yourself what purpose it really serves. Because it was meant to use it as a vehicle for transforming and making lives for people better on a day-to-day basis. And to see your own colleagues in this blatant and disgraceful way abandon that cause, you ask yourself, does it really worth it to be on this journey? When we fail to do the doables. The doables. Because I'm quite mindful, Philip, as I remind people, slavery was a successful venture for those who own slaves and estates. It was a successful venture. People became very wealthy, but in the same time, people were dying and suffering. The owners of slaves and the estates did not end slavery because they became enlightened. It was abandoned because slaves rose up in defense of their interests and make it untenable for them. What point I'm trying to make? Don't expect the bank to act on their own volition to end what they are conscious of. Don't rely on them because they knew what they were doing before. One banker, Philip, you like me know many persons across the spectrum.
Yes.
One banker who I know very well years ago tell me, Fitz, we hear you talking, but we expect that to be a 9-day wonder.
Ah.
Right? The only time that we took it serious is when you table the bill and they saw that it can become law to cause them not to charge a fee. When I tabled the bill first when the bill came up for debate and all the publicity around it, within days they wanted audience with me when the bill was sitting on the table for months.
Yes.
Because they felt it's not going to go anywhere. No, Parliament is where the ordinary people elect members too. When the power of money is not stronger than the power of the vote. The power of money is not as strong as the power of the people out there. So no matter how much money you have, if we work together, like those who have been oppressed before, our collective efforts can make for a better path, a better society, at least for the majority of us. That's what we have the opportunity to utilize.
Yeah. I see Mark King asking, is there a time that we, the consumers, have a say as to how our money ought to be spent by our, I suppose, banks, the various investments? Well, that does move very quickly. But that's the very point you're making, Fitz, that the people have given their representatives the authority to act in their best interest. And that is not happening in our parliament now.
But that point you raised, somebody raised it with me before, and they said, well, we can vote and we have election, which is every 4 or 5 year cycle.
Right.
It's not true. The opportunity to act in our democratic society is not only at the polls, that's one off, and perhaps the most singular event that we can, but we can act in between. Many changes that have taken place in this world and even in this country is not just at the polls. It is between the polls. What we do and what we don't do.
Yes.
So we can act if we are committed to act. We can act in your little way. You can organize a protest to let the government know that it cannot and it will not be business as usual. It is my money that is being stolen by the banks. You won't protect me. I want protection and demand it.
Fitz, I'm going to invite those who view this to share it with their groups, because many of them are group members. They have meetings. It can be shared on the platform. We don't have to be present in a group meeting. I think this needs to get out. And what is so refreshing is the level of passion that a representative of the people is showing on this matter, which affects everybody. So I'm really going to invite people who are watching this to preserve this and to share it, because the message really needs to get out. What I was thinking while you spoke, Fitz, is that what we're seeing in the banking sector is cartelization. All the banks in Jamaica, they have the same policies, the same charges. There is no competition.
Well, 2 points you raised which I want to address, if you may permit. On the question of competition, I really don't believe that the banks want competition, right? And in that regard, I have tabled some questions to the Minister of Finance a couple of weeks ago regarding allowing for persons to open new accounts with greater ease, much like what you did, Philip, in bringing about the portability of numbers.
Right.
Is for account information to be easily transferred.
Right.
Because the Bank of Jamaica have what is called know your interest requirement, know your customers, KYC requirement. What they do, all a set of information that is common across all banks.
True.
To basically say, determine what that body, that clutch of information is, that package of information, standard for all banks for the
Right.
opening of account. So if you go to bank, if you are in bank A and you are displeased and want to migrate to another bank, all you need to do is to just fill out a form, sign it, and say, give my banking in account information to bank B. And within a day or two, the account is open by
Right.
bank B, and you can transfer your money. And hopefully, I want to see at no charge to another account. When the customers, the depositors, are provided with such ease of mobility, I'm certain that the banks will act differently.
Right.
So I placed that before the governor of the Bank of Jamaica. No response. I have put them in a set of questions that I tabled on the 11th of this month to the minister to address.
Yeah. Well, I think I am going to look at the Fair Competition Act because, you know, I was involved with the passage of that law in 1992, I think it was.
Mhm.
And I remember when we were passing the law to outlaw cartelization and monopolization and agreements that lessen competition, which is what cartelization is all about. Many of the sectors in Jamaica came to me seeking to get exemption. And I'm going to go back to my notes because I suspect the banking sector wanted exemption as well. I said no to all of them. So they all have to subscribe to the provisions of that law, and the penalties are severe. I think, well, I'm going to write to the Fair Trading Commission on Monday to get them to do another investigation because I know they looked at this some time ago. Mm-hmm. But it is important, Fitz, that if we are dissatisfied with the current banks, there must be a system that makes it easier for banks to get established in Jamaica, for banks to offer service, for new banks to be allowed in the marketplace. And right now, I think it is too restrictive. And that's why this cartelization and this profiteering takes place. What do you think about that?
No, indeed. And I know the requirements for fit and proper and other requirements of the Bank of Jamaica is very, very strenuous.
Yeah.
I know, for example, the most recent addition to the list is JMNB and JN Bank. And that took place over, I think, a 3 to probably 4 year period. That's a long period for approval process for a bank. Granted, being licensed to take people's deposits as savings and lend them. One of the big difference between a bank and a securities company that is regulated by the FSC, for example, is that the regulations in the FSC sort of circumscribe the kinds of things that they can invest those funds in, which is to guarantee some amount of security for them. On the other hand, banks can take your cash and lend it in loans that the banks, not just institutions or other business like what you do in shares, stocks and bonds on the security side. And so the ability and the capacity to manage those cash is of some significance. But I don't believe that it has to be so drawn out. Right? Because you're looking for data. It is data you're assessing. It is information you're assessing. So once you get the requisite information, there ought to be some more efficient way of processing that information so that a decision can be made in a more timely basis. But to the extent that you only have the banks that you have, those depositors ought to be fully protected.
Of course. Somebody asked about the Consumer Affairs Commission. This is a matter that the Consumer Affairs Commission should have jumped on long time ago, and I'm going to call them out on that. Fitz, credit unions. I see Althea Leng bigging up the credit unions. What are their fees like?
those fees are a bit more nominal.
Right.
And there are less transactions taking place intra credit unions than you have with the commercial banks.
Right.
And so the impact of the fees tend to be less and more insignificant than what happens in the commercial banks. You
Right.
take, for example, Philip, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of companies now are paying workers by transfers to
Right.
their accounts.
Right.
So the banks get the benefit of lump sum deposits into their accounts on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly basis.
Yes.
That secures the cash in the bank
Right.
because salary transfers offers tremendous opportunities to banks because it keeps the money in the bank from the company paying and the person who takes it out. Because you only going to take it out when you're going to use it. So it stays
Yes.
in the bank longer. Their reserve levels can go higher and your lending capacity increases. Given those increased benefits, why penalize an employee who wants a $3,000 from them account have to
Yeah.
pay $100 or plus just to take some of their own money that the bank has the benefit to use when they are not using it? Just think about it, the
Yeah.
principle of it. And I say, if a million company banks in a million countries are doing something wrong, something inherently unfair,
Yes.
unjust, we don't have to be doing it. If others are committing murder and it's okay with them, we're not going to do it either. Because our value system of what is fair and what is reasonable does not equate to those.
Right.
So look at it first of all for the principle. And one other important point I want to make, because some of the apologists for the banks, including the Minister of Finance, government should not involve in setting prices and setting fees. The banking bill not setting any fees. Absolutely not. Nowhere in the bill it specifies what a fee should be.
Right.
All it does is specify what service should not attract a fee.
Yes.
So
As
it's quite
I
fixing.
see comment Betty Thompson quite rightly saying that the credit unions are limited as to the types of transactions that they can do. I see Yvonne Knight saying that Victoria Mutual for her is the best because their charges seem to be much lower. Are you
And have
aware?
very few charges.
Oh, they do have very few charges.
Very few
You know,
charges. When,
I have a Victoria Mutual account from a born, but I hardly use it. I probably need to shift from one of these commercial banks and deal solely with Victoria Mutual. Good.
then
Thanks
then
very much, Yvonne.
you'll become a wealthy man.
Yes, yes, thanks very much, Yvonne. That is good information. And thanks for that comment, Betty. All right, so I see people talking about action and what can be done, and that it is all well and good for us to stir in a passionate way these things, but I believe that each one of us has the power to change these things, and we don't have to wait until election time comes. I really believe that the same way Fitz is out there articulating, we need to develop a movement out of this, a people's movement. And Comrade Brown, all the way from China, talking about Occupy Duke Street as one such action. Althea Lang, people power. We have tremendous power. And
Yes,
there
but
must be
Philip,
less things.
if you have power and don't use it, it becomes useless.
Absolutely. And I think on this platform, we need to develop some activity that will force the banks to pause and to stop this rape.
I have some easy solution,
Yeah.
Philip. Today is Friday. As of Monday, between now and Monday morning, comrades, and by the way, it's not only comrades opposed to the bank's fee, you know. Labor rights do too.
Yes.
Labor rights do.
I hear the JLP members of parliament talking about it quietly.
Yes. But some of them speak to me too.
Yes.
Some of them speak to me too. Because they told me quite frankly, Mr. Fitz, my constituents have to pay these fees too. So my suggestion is this. Simple suggestion. Nothing new, nothing out of the box, but can be deliberate. If 5 comrades, 5 persons, let me not say comrades, 5 Jamaicans who feel strongly about this matter should just begin to make some placards and go in front of one of the government ministry or banks and stand up for 15 minutes in a day, not 15 hours, 15 minutes, expressing how they feel with their placards, in their chants, right? The banks aren't, and the government will not act if they don't believe they have to act. Simply put.
Yes.
What's what they can do in their own little circles.
Yes.
The pandemic protocol restrict 10 people. You don't have to breach it.
Yes.
You don't have to breach it.
Yes.
You can go there and walk up and down that place for 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. In no more than 10.
Yes.
Because if you have 10 is 100.
Yes.
10 separate groups is not one big group of 100.
Right. And this can be done at the head offices, at the bank?
Head offices, regional offices, identify appropriate venues, and execute. This is something that we have done before.
Yes.
Our forefathers and those gone not so long ago are turning in their graves that they have sacrificed to advance this country to where it is on our behalf. And we all have become so complacent, so contented with oppression, so contented with unfairness that we fail to act. I don't want to be counted amongst those who sacrifice for me. What I've been able to do and achieve is not out of my exclusive genius or will, but on the shoulders of those before us. That you and I, we are parliamentarians, Philip.
Yes.
We are parliamentarians because of the struggles of others before us.
Absolutely.
Because persons that look like me and you couldn't be in parliament many years ago.
Absolutely.
Probably couldn't walk near God knows. But we can step into that parliament with some pride and confidence because of those persons before us and the people in our constituency. So the power we have is not ours. It's theirs.
Yes.
That we act on behalf. Because we will go too. We are not going to be MPs forever.
Right.
We will go and others will be required to carry the mantle forward. But while we are there, we must use it for the purpose for which it was given to us.
Yes. Somebody sent me a text a while ago to say her protest is going to be going into the bank, fill up a withdrawal slip, and leave it on the counter.
Yeah, well, do everything and whatever. You're not breaking any law.
Yes.
And the blunt is sometimes you have to break a law here and then for what you want, because slavery was legal, you know. And those who protest against us was protesting against the law.
Right. Good trouble. There's nothing wrong with good trouble.
Good trouble.
Fitz, we have to follow up on this one. I think it requires sustained pressure.
Yes.
I think it requires sustained pressure. I'm going to, out of this, write to the Fair Trading Commission because I was the first FTC managing director, and I think the FTC has a role to play. I'm going to write to the CAC. The Consumer Protection Act was passed by us, the PNP, and it provides certain protection. And I'm sure these banks are in breach of that law.
Well, you're the appropriate person, Philip,
Yes,
and you have already developed a reputation. Anywhere you go, you leave a permanent mark of development for Jamaica.
yes,
In
yes, yes.
telecom, in the energy sector, you name it, motor vehicle, and the rest of it. So I invite you to follow on that path.
Yes, well, I want to leave a permanent mark on this live, this connection live today, and to see if
Or,
we can use this now as a pivot to get some change, positive change, which might eventually include even breaching the COVID protocol to get our message out.
there is
But I
a
think
thing
we
called
do
good
it in
trouble, man.
stages.
Good
We do it
trouble.
in stages.
Good trouble.
Fitz Jackson, I have never gone beyond 7 o'clock. And I know we were about 4 minutes, 5 minutes late. I find that when you go more than 45 minutes, sometimes
Yes.
the interest wane. But I tell you, people are commenting like crazy. That the interest is still very, very high. Socrates saying ready. Um, Comrade Brown, he's in China.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
His body is there, but his heart is in
Kemar
his
is in
own land.
China.
Yes.
And we have lots of people from the diaspora who are here. First of all, Andy Griffiths, I think you're in Atlanta, saying wonderful session. Beverly McHugh saying good trouble is needed. Get out there. Very well. Comrade Fitz Jackson, man, I tell you, this one has been probably one of the most energizing discussions I've had since we have started this thing. So I really want to thank you very, very much. It's hard to see comparable passion in coming out of the program. So I am certain that our people who are watching are motivated to go and do something. I want to remind the audience that, as I mentioned on the first program of the new year, I will be contributing various articles to the Sunday Gleaner. And this week again, you will see an article from me. I'm not trying to do no good trouble. I'm trying to just share my views after 30 years in the system, in public life, just to share some views that I believe are important at this time. So I invite you all to get your copy of the Sunday Gleaner, to read what I have to say, and we're going to continue the dialogue throughout the year as we look at various issues that affect us. Comrade Fitz Jackson, the former chairman of the Great People's National Party. Boy, I'm so happy that I voted for you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
man.
And I'm happy that I voted for you too.
Well, all right. I don't want to get you into trouble,
No, I can live with this trouble without apology. I
Thank you, my
voted for
brother.
you.
What a wonderful program. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed today. And as Irashale is saying, she voted for me too. Respect everybody. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And Fitz, we'll see you on Tuesday in Parliament.
Indeed.
One love.
To all your viewers, listeners, a pleasure sharing with you. All the very best. All the very best for the new year. To you individually and to your respective families. The struggle continues. Let us do what we ought to do. Much love, much blessings.
Connection Live, tuning out. Over and out.